One private residence above Beverly Hills was once ranked more famous than any address besides the White House. For nearly a century, the hills above Hollywood have been rewritten by the fortunes of actors, moguls, and studio executives who built houses as extravagant as the films that paid for them. Some of these estates hosted the industry's most legendary parties. Others became architectural landmarks, and more than a few carry local legends that refuse to fade. These are the 13 historic Hollywood mansions that shaped an industry, outlived their most famous owners, and, according to the stories still told about them, never really left. Pickfair. This 1919 hillside estate, transformed by architect Wallace Neff for newlyweds Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, grew from a modest hunting lodge into the most talked-about private address in America. Its renovated house grew to 25 rooms with stables, tennis courts, and one of the first private pools built in Los Angeles. Guests included Charlie Chaplin, Albert Einstein, and European royalty, and the estate earned the nickname the Western White House as the nation's second most famous address. Jerry Buss bought the property in 1980, and though the house was later razed, its name still stands for Hollywood's first golden age of glamour. Greystone Mansion. This 1928 Tudor Revival manor, designed by architect Gordon Kaufman for oil heir Ned Doheny, rose across 18 acres as one of the largest private residences in Beverly Hills. Built from Indiana limestone with hand-carved paneling and imported marble across 55 rooms, the 3-year build cost over $3 million. The estate became the site of a still-debated 1929 tragedy involving Ned Doheny, a story that has made it one of the city's most whispered-about addresses. Deeded to the city of Beverly Hills as a public park in 1971 and later listed on the National Register, the mansion now draws visitors for both its grounds and the legend that lingers there. If stories like these captivate you, consider joining our community and subscribing to the channel for more journeys through history's most remarkable properties. Falcon Lair. This 1925 Spanish colonial revival residence, built by developer George Reed and designed by architect Wallace Neff, sat on an 8-acre ridge above Beverly Hills before silent film idol Rudolph Valentino bought it. Valentino paid $175,000 for the property and named it after The Hooded Falcon, an unproduced film role he never lived to complete. After Valentino's sudden death in 1926, the estate was auctioned off, and it later passed to tobacco heiress Doris Duke, who kept it as a private hideaway. The house was demolished in the mid-2000s. Yet the site still sells for millions on the strength of its silent-era owner's name alone. Greenacres, this 1929 estate, designed by architect Sumner Spaulding for silent comedy star Harold Lloyd, spread across 16 acres of Benedict Canyon during Hollywood's silent era. The 44-room Italian Renaissance house was joined by gardens modeled on Italy's Villa Gambaria, a golf course, a canoe run, and a dozen fountains. Lloyd had announced the project as a $1 million undertaking, and it became one of the largest celebrity estates ever built in Los Angeles. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1984, the grounds remain a record of how completely silent era stardom could rewrite a hillside. Beverly House. This 1927 mansion, built for banking executive Milton Getz on North Beverly Drive, was designed by architect Gordon Kaufman, who also designed the Hoover Dam. William Randolph Hearst bought the estate in 1946, and its arched living room, wood-paneled library, and private nightclub made it a stage for the publisher's lavish entertaining. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy chose the estate for part of their 1953 honeymoon, and decades later, its grounds stood in for the wedding scenes of The Godfather. Still privately owned, the mansion remains one of the most recognizable estates ever to appear on screen, its history running through Hollywood's studio era and its politics alike. For more deep dives into the world's most extraordinary estates, follow along and subscribe so you never miss the next story. Houdini Estate. This 1915 Laurel Canyon mansion, raised for department store owner Ralph Walker, took its enduring nickname from a guest who never actually lived inside it. Illusionist Harry Houdini rented only the guest cottage across the road in 1919 while filming for Lasky Pictures. Yet local memory folded his legend into the main house next door. After Houdini's death, his wife Bess reportedly returned to hold seances there, and when a 1959 canyon wildfire destroyed the original mansion, the story grew larger in the retelling. Today, the ruins and rebuilt structures on the site are counted among the most persistent haunted addresses in Los Angeles, a legend that has outlasted the building it was never really about. Mulholland Farm. This 1941 ranch-style compound, built by swashbuckling star Errol Flynn on 11 acres above Mulholland Drive, traded Hollywood's Mediterranean grandeur for a country retreat with a pool, a barn, and a private casino. Flynn filled the colonial-style house with secret passages, two-way mirrors, and a hidden crawl space above one bedroom, details nearly as famous as the star himself. Regulars at its parties included Charlie Chaplin, Jack Warner, Mickey Rooney, and Flynn's friend John Barrymore, cementing its reputation as one of the era's wildest private playgrounds. The house passed to singer Ricky Nelson before sitting vacant, and though it was demolished in the late 1980s, local lore still holds that its first owner never quite checked out. Paramour Estate. This 1923 Beaux Arts residence, designed by architect Robert Farquhar for socialite Daisy Canfield and her husband, silent film actor Antonio Moreno, rose in Silver Lake between three studio lots. Spanning 22,000 square feet of Mediterranean-inflected architecture, the estate was built for entertaining, with grand reception rooms made to host the film industry's biggest names. Canfield died in a car accident in 1933, not long after separating from Moreno, and local legend holds that she never left the house she built for Hollywood's parties. Decades later, musicians recording there, including the band My Chemical Romance in 2006, reported unexplained occurrences that deepened the mansion's reputation as one of the city's most storied addresses. Ennis House. This 1924 hilltop residence, designed by architect Frank Lloyd Wright for businessman Charles Ennis in the Los Feliz Hills, was built almost entirely from more than 27,000 hand-cast concrete blocks. Each textile block was stamped with a Mayan-inspired pattern and cast on site from decomposed granite, giving the house its temple-like silhouette and making it the largest of Wright's 4 Los Angeles block houses. The design earned landmark status as Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument No. 149, and its dramatic profile made it a favorite filming location for movies like Blade Runner. More than any single owner, it is the building itself that turned the property into a legend, an experimental structure that still draws architects up its driveway today. Jane Mansfield's Pink Palace. This 40-room Mediterranean mansion on Sunset Boulevard, built for singer Rudy Vallee, was purchased by actress Jane Mansfield in 1957, just before her marriage to bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay. Mansfield had the interiors painted pink from floor to ceiling, adding Cupid statues, pink fur bathroom fixtures, and a fountain that ran with pink champagne. Hargitay personally built his wife a heart-shaped swimming pool, finished with gold leaf mosaic tiles spelling out a private message, a feature that became one of the most photographed backyard fixtures in Hollywood history. Demolished in 2002, the estate no longer stands, but its blush-colored legend remains shorthand for flamboyant 1950s Hollywood stardom. Cecil B. DeMille Estate. This 1914 Beaux Arts residence, built on the highest lot of the Laughlin Park community in Los Feliz, was purchased by director Cecil B. DeMille in 1916 for just under $28,000. The 7,000-square-foot, 15-room mansion sits on just over 2 acres alongside a pool house and a private studio building. He lived on the property for more than 4 decades, directing landmark films including The Ten Commandments, The King of Kings, and Samson and Delilah while based there. He remained until his death in 1959, and Laughlin Park's gated streets still bear his name on the drive leading to the house he never left. Bella Vista. This totem pole-studded estate, assembled by actor John Barrymore in Beverly Hills, grew into one of the most eccentric private compounds Hollywood had yet produced. Barrymore filled its gardens with exotic plants, aviaries for his birds, and a 25-foot Tlingit totem pole cut down and shipped home from an Alaskan village during a 1931 sailing trip. The totem's presence on the grounds became a local landmark, outliving Paramour's ownership and passing through collectors before its return to Alaska decades later. The estate has changed hands many times since, but its reputation as the eccentric showcase of Hollywood's most theatrical dynasty has never fully faded from local memory. Ocean House. This 1929 oceanfront estate, designed by architect Julia Morgan for actress Marion Davies at William Randolph Hearst's expense, spread across 5 acres of Santa Monica's Gold Coast. The 110-room main house was joined by guest cottages and a marble-lined swimming pool rivaling any resort on the coast. Through the 1930s and 1940s, it hosted some of Hollywood's most star-studded gatherings, before later operating as a members-only beach club and eventually selling to the state of California. Though the original mansion was demolished decades ago, the site reopened to the public in 2009 as the Annenberg Community Beach House, meaning that of all 13 estates on this list, its legacy is the one that truly never left. Across nearly a century, these 13 estates trace the arc of an industry that turned architecture into performance and private homes into public legend. From Pickfair's record-setting fame to the quieter, oceanfront legacy of Ocean House, each property carried its own version of Hollywood's obsession with spectacle, privacy, and permanence. Some of these mansions still stand behind their original gates, others exist only in photographs and property records, and more than a few are said by longtime locals to still hold on to their most famous residents. What remains constant is the pull of the story itself, proof that a legendary address can outlive the legend who built it.